In this video, I talk about gaming aids and whether you should buy these types of accessories or maybe try to make your own. It is a very rare wargame that does not benefit by some sort of token, marker, little bead, crystal, whatever you want to use, stones, coins, something. I generally refer to these things as gaming aids. This is a thing that helps you along so you don't end up activating the same unit twice. You know, like some games allow it, but some games don't. And if you can't remember, did I move that guy? And if you're getting old like me, you very frequently can't remember if you moved that guy. So being able to, after you've moved, to put down a little token so that you remember when it's time to move your next turn, oh yeah, I already moved that guy, I can't do that again. That's very helpful. That can really help the game along. That can make it so that you don't get 3 turns down the and then realize, oh no, I shouldn't have, that kind of thing. It can remind you when there's special conditions that are currently affecting your unit. If they're harmed, if their morale is broken, if they're running, these types of different things. In computer games, video games in general, whatever, these types of things are generally taken care of. If there are any kind of effects, like someone has cast a spell on your character and now they move at half speed, the computer takes care of all that. When we're doing it on the desktop, the tabletop, we have to keep track of all that stuff ourselves, and it becomes difficult the more complex the game becomes, and also with the more and more figures you might have to command. Now, a lot of modern games are starting to come with all those tokens included. If you look at a game like Star Wars X-Wing, that game comes with tons and tons and tons of tokens. And if you go to tournaments, local shop tournaments to big tournaments, you get as prizes fancy little tokens that maybe are plastic, acrylic, or whatever, as opposed to the cardboard ones that come in the regular base box. But all those little chips and chits and all that kind of stuff are there to help you remember, well, this ship is under stress and that one has an evade token so that and it just helps the game go along. The more controls, the more qualities that a unit can have, the more effects that they can be under, the more things you have to remember. So it's really a good idea to put those little chips or tokens or whatever down there where you can remember them. The trick is that a lot of miniature war games don't come with any of those types of tokens, even though they might be better served if they did. What a lot of them will do, not all of them, a lot of them will instead try to sell you those tokens separately later on. And you don't have to use them, obviously, but if you want them to be kind of cool and look like they came from the actual brand name, then they will sell them to you in that fashion. But I like to use, frankly, whatever works best in whatever given situation. I will usually try to find something that's printed. Like one of the things that people will do is use these little plastic crystals sometimes that come in different colors, or maybe they'll use coins to have, but it can be very difficult to remember, does the blue crystal mean that he has a shield on, or does it mean that he advanced this turn? That kind of stuff. And short of actually writing yourself a little note and keeping it over by the side of the battle board there, you may have a hard time remembering what you're supposed to be remembering with the red bead and how that relates to what is going on currently in the game. So I generally prefer a little token or chip that says something on it, like run or prone or whatever, something like that, so that I at least get the idea. And there are plenty of companies out there that are cranking out plenty of things like that for all of the big games. Sometimes they're licensed, sometimes they're not. War Machine has got lots and lots and lots of different manufacturers out there they work with to make some really great token sets for all of the different things that go on in that game, between area of attack templates and smoke templates and focus and fury and all these different things. There's a lot of things to keep track of in many of the miniatures games, and so it's best if it's also not just a token or a thing or a bit or a bob, but also it's clear in what it's actually trying to represent. So let's say, okay, you're on board. You want tokens. You want a bunch of stuff that shows the different conditions that are going on within any given unit at any given time. Cool. A, what happens if a game doesn't have manufacturers making tokens for it? Or B, what happens if you don't want to spend that kind of money, for super fancy, full color, expensive, fancy, schmancy tokens, laser cut acrylic, whatever. There are things that you can do if you've got just the littlest bit of a crafty, bent upstairs, stuff that I've done as well that can really make your gameplay a little bit more smooth. There are these plastic domes. They're little half domes, clear acrylic half domes that you can get, and they're sticky, like on the flat part. And you get a big sheet of like 100 of them on like Amazon or something like that, and then you can peel them off and stick them onto something you've printed out, which maybe you've used a 1-inch punch to punch out, and you stick it on there, boom, you got yourself little tokens for Infinity. I know a lot of guys who play Infinity who have done this. In the back of the Infinity rules booklet, there is actually a page that shows all the different possible tokens that you could, produce yourself, and then they say, yeah, you can photocopy that. And then I know a bunch of people who do that kind of thing. But there's lots of other things too. There's games out there where people will use bottle caps, and they will print something and put it onto the bottle cap, maybe with a little bit of Mod Podge to kind of, smooth that on there and make it sticky. I personally have purchased little 1-inch badges, like the little punk rock kind of rock and roll badges that maybe you stick on your hooded sweatshirt to show that the bands that you like that are only an inch in diameter. I bought a whole bunch of those for back when I used to play Dust, and there was a company that was just selling sets of them that were designed to work with Dust specifically. And I liked them so much, I went onto eBay and bought one of those badge machines so I could make my own quick little badges that would have specific words on them and tell me, oh, okay, well, these guys are, shaken, or these guys are prone, or whatever. But you can use all kinds of things. I've seen 3D printed ones that look pretty cool. If you have access to a laser cutter, the world is your oyster as far as tokens and that kind of stuff are concerned. There are a lot of different things you can do, even just to printing stuff out and laminating it and then cutting it out. I've done all of these different things, except for the laser cut thing. I don't own a laser cutter. And use them for tokens and for objective markers and all kinds of different things. And it really helps the game kind of move along. And sometimes it's a hobby aspect that you can work on in between bouts of not being able to paint or build or something like that. There are times when you are down in the basement or your craft room or wherever you're at, and you just can't put together another army guy. You know what I mean? Or you just can't put another coat of green on another orc. You're just not prepared for it. Shift gears. Make yourself some tokens. Make yourself some cool laminated or painted things like that. Do those things so you've got these nice little kit, and then you can usually put them in those plastic. I think they're usually for like fishing tackle. They're little small plastic things with extra little chambers. You open it up, it snaps open, snaps closed, and then they don't just mix up all over the place inside your gaming bag. All these little extra crafty things you can do, and if you do it right, very frequently you can use those same things in multiple games. Like you could use them for this type of game, but also this type of game, depending on what the different conditions might be. Sometimes there's a bit of overlap, sometimes there might be none. But all of these things are things you can kind of start to think about and look at to help your gaming enjoyment be increased by the fact that you're no longer forgetting, what's with these guys over here? Why did I not move them last turn? You just look and go, oh, that's right, because they're prone. I got it. Cool. And now you know. So whether you're just interested in going out and buying something from one of the many, many, many companies out there already making all kinds of tokens and accessories and game aids to make your wargaming easier, or whether you want to get crafty and do your own, I would definitely suggest to you to find something to help you along with that. Unless your memory is absolutely phenomenal and you never forget a thing, which that means you're maybe a robot, so you should check for that. But I'm just saying, generally, you should look into looking at this, because we've all had games where we've forgotten about some special thing that may have helped us to win the game, if only there was a little brightly colored piece of plastic or something on the table to remind us that that would be something that would be available to this particular unit, or that they should have taken a +1 save because they were in cover or laying down or whatever. All these different things are things that we have to try to remember ourselves in tabletop gaming. The video game folks generally have the programming taking care of that for them. But like I said, it can, if you're interested, become an extra little hobby craft of its own, which maybe helps you out in between painting or building and things like that. And maybe you start to really like it. Maybe you start your own little company and start selling these things to your friends and then eventually to anybody online. It's a brand new world.